Welcome to this channel. So recently I have received many messages from our Wing Chun friends and Chinese Kung Fu friends asking me about sparring, how to prepare for sparring, why they cannot do sparring, so forth, so forth, so forth. So today I like to share with you the basic science of fighting. So you'll be able to know what is going on with the Chinese Kung Fu in terms of fighting or the small scale of fighting, which is sparring. Now, so there are four things we need to remember as soon as it is about Chinese Kung Fu. The first thing, the culture of Chinese martial art always is said that it is a self-defense. So, what is self-defense? What do you mean by self-defense? Well, if you read Lao Tzu or you read Sun Tzu, The Art of War, the definitions of the Chinese on the self-defense is that one need to develop the skill to do fighting, to make war, but do not bully others and not get bullied by others. So, on this fighting, which is the Chinese uh, philosophy on self-defense, is one must develop one's skill in fighting, and thus one do not bully others and one do not get bullied by others. And in terms of self-defense, it is all kinds of tricks and setup. That is no clean fighting because self-defense is not acting in kung fu movies or fighting in the ring. Okay? So now you know that what self-defense means, meaning one need to know the signs. One will use anything to win. However, one do not bully others and one do not accept being bullied by others. Fighting is the last resort. But in the fighting, it is not a fight in the ring. It is not a movie making. Everything goes. And nobody said that it has to be uh, proper this way or that way. So there's a lot of setup. So we must know this, okay? This is what the Chinese mean when it mean self-defense. And it's very be careful, need to be careful on this because the Chinese do not provoke bully others and try to avoid get bullied by others. However, when you get to the last resort, everything goes. And of course, one need to have the skill to do the job. Okay, so that's one thing one need to remember what it is. The second thing is in fighting, as I mentioned the other day, there are three things: speed, power, and continuous attack. Speed, power, and continuous attack. Speed, power mean the handling of momentum. Continuous attacks mean is based on the muscular endurance, cardiovascular endurance, which means you base on the VO2 max. So again, this is very important three key. You want to go fight, what is your speed? What is your power? What is your handling on the continuity attack? This is the basic. Or in other words, what is your momentum handling? What is your muscular endurance, cardiovascular endurance, or today we can check it with what is your VO2 max? Are you up to that VO2 max to do the fight or to do the sparring? Now, if one not be able to have the speed and the power, that means one have no handle on the momentum. Just face it. Now, even if one have the power and speed, but if one do not be able to do a continuous attack, then it is known that the person do not have the or develop the muscular endurance and the cardiovascular endurance, or do not have enough level of VO2 max to do the job. Okay. Now, so often you can see that people can like punch the first punch very quick, very powerful, but then one cannot continue on. Now, you know right away that in that case, for really sure, they don't have the endurance training or their endurance training doesn't work. And also the momentum handling have problem because a good momentum handling will be able to go continuous on. So with that, we be able to see is that training proper or not? Do we have the basic or not? This is a science. This is not magic. Okay. If you have the momentum handling, you have the power and the speed. If you have the continuous attack capability, meaning that you be able to handle your momentum really fluently, and very important is you have the cardiovascular and your muscular endurance to support that momentum handling or continuous momentum handling. This is clear. I don't invent this. This is a summary from the Shaolin Sword Strike Classic and General Chi Chi Guang Classic. So if you read the General Chi Chi Guang chapter 14, you will see that. Now, that's the second thing, okay? So if you want to go sparring, want better to have that. That's why today I say that measure the heart, the VO2 max. If you're not up to that level, don't go to do free sparring. One can do the one-step sparring, two-step sparring, or three-step sparring, have a taste of what sparring is about, but never go for that free sparring where people can get KO. Because if one just be able to throw one or two punch, cannot continue on, do not have the cardio, can get KO very easily when there's no gut there, even with guts. Okay. So that three things is a must if one said one is the martial artist. Like if we are older, we might not have the the capability to do that anymore. Okay, so this is realistic reality. The third thing we need to understand, today's world have a biggest misleading, be it in Wing Chun, in Kung Fu. The biggest misunderstanding and misleading, you see everybody when they teach Kung Fu or showing sparring, they always say, stand like this, and you get a student stand here, and the teacher will say, if he punch a sucker punch towards me, I'm going to do a tan sao to this part of his hand, and then I'm going to strike him, or I'm going to do this technique, that techniques. Those things belong to movie. It is absolutely nonsense in the real life. When people say that, that means they never be in a full contact fight. Never. Okay? And they never also read the four classic I mentioned a few days ago. If they really in the ring fight before and they uh, read that four classic, they won't do this. This is really idiotic. Okay? So anybody thinking he punched me, I'm going to tan sao and then to his sucker punch and punch him, and I have this technique, that technique, this con nonsense. Okay? Real fighting. Real fighting will have the variations of distance, the variations of angle, the variations of level. It happened in the same time. Nobody is going to stand punching like that and then wait until you use these techniques to this and do this to that, standing there. Okay? Nobody was going to do that. Fighting is dynamic, is moving around. So that's why Chinese Kung Fu techniques and Wing Chun techniques never really work. Look into the MMA, UFC since since 1970 when you have the records of fighting the Kyokushin and fighting the MMA, the UFC and so forth, the restaurant. It never worked that way. Why? Because every fighting is dynamic within the shifting of the angle, the distance, the angle, and the level. Nobody's going to stand there to, I throw a sucker punch, and then you're going to get tan sao me. It is completely idiot. 460 years ago, General Qi Ji Guang already said, do not parry, do not block. So the bottom line is, if somebody throw a punch, you want to move out to the angle to attack him, or the distance, which is come with the angles or the level. So as we always see that if somebody throw a punch, people going down to take down. There's the moving of the angle, distance, and level. That's reality. If you keeping thinking about, he come, I want to use this technique, that techniques, that's why all this technique stuff belong to the movie. It looks good. In the real life, you get KO first few seconds. Because the entire thing is living in the fantasy. Who have his in the right mind try to block a sucker punch with a tan sao or some other kind of block? What is the risk to do that? Not to mention it violating what General Qi Ji Guang said. As in my book, Kung Fu 1560. That's the reason why I translate that book. Everybody today, you know that. People throw you a punch, either you're going down, take down, or you go sideways, you hook him, or all kind of stuff. You move your target out. You don't stand there with your target there, not moving, and then try to use your techniques. First, are you sure that you can handle the momentum, the intense of the momentum? The second, you're standing there. Are you sure that you can handle the continuous attack? Because people can bait you through a jab, you're going to do, or through a sucker punch, you're going to do a tan sao. Good. You get into people's trap. People set you up. But if people keeping thinking about, I have used this technique, that techniques, the entire body is dead there. That's why you get beat up by Xi Xiaodong. Why is the ancient Chinese like that? No. That's why again I say I prove to you the four classic. The other day I say, General Chi Chi Kong said, don't touch him. Don't block, don't parry. The Shaolin sword strike says shoot in from the angle. The Chang family martial art book say that if we fight in this range with exactly in the so-called technique range today people show in Chinese Kung Fu or in the movie, you both will get hit. Both will get hit. Of course, if one is bigger, have much more endurance, we can afford to exchange punch because that fight is about, hey, I'm going to exchange to you. I'm going to KO you by exchange to you. But even if you look at when people exchange, be in the Western boxing or Thai boxing or in Kyokushin, you go close and strike, there's all kinds of angle changing. It's not standing there with the block and all this thing. So this is the worst thing of the traditional Chinese martial art. Idiotic mistake, misleading. But nobody talk about it. Everybody think that that is the truth. You go watch movie, yeah, you get high. See whether you go to fight a Western boxing friend, spar with him, you get KO or not. Okay? And thinking that, oh yeah, straight like that, you're gonna exchange punch. You must be kidding. If the other party is not well trained, not up to the standard, not up to your standard, you probably can take advantage of this technique, that technique. Well, if you face half of Mike Tyson or somebody who have trained in the MMA, like the amateur like Xi Xiaodong, can you handle that? Look at his body. Like the other day I said, the breathing handling, the intra-abdominal pressure, the core stability, people have those training. Can you handle that? Can you handle that standing in your EG Kamyangma and your mind power, all those things? Those are just talk, okay? Following that, it just tell one that one do not have idea what is going on. So this is the third one. The fourth one, Xiu Lim Tao practice, like the 1850 Xiu Lim Tao, very particularly. The 1850 Xiu Lim Tao sets is a functional training. Training for what? Training for fighting. That's why the S21 is also a functional training. Training for what? Training for martial arts. It's Wing Chun. What do you expect? So today when people say that set is internal, it's a meditation, you do it slow and so forth, so forth. You know what is that? That's called dance. That is in the definition is a dance, an art, a dancing art. There's nothing wrong with that. A dancing art, yes. But it is never a functional training for martial arts. Your body is not trained for that. Now you might ask me, question me, why are you right, Hendrik? Let me share with you a truth. Today in internal art, like for example, Tai Chi. Now I'm not taking a step at Tai Chi, but I tell you what is the truth. People always say you need to breathe naturally. Breathe naturally. So I often ask people to breathe naturally, yeah? When I inhale, should I inhale this way, move my body this way, or I inhale moving my body this way? You said breathe naturally, tell me which is natural. Well, most people have no idea. But if you go really no natural, you know that you need to sink your body when you breathe. Why? Because that promotes your full inhalations and it stabilize your core. You go down to the dantian. You won't use the term dantian term right away. When you do this, you stand like that, you inhale like that. That's just a chest breathing. So what is so internal? What is so natural? It just say that one have no idea. Many things in Kung Fu today, they use term to cover up for what they don't know. Oh, you have to breathe naturally. You have to fa jing naturally. You have to be soft. It's all nonsense. The ancient Chinese don't do that. That's why the ancient Chinese do this. Inhale, exhale. Because the whole pelvic floor and the diaphragm move together. They handle the stability and so forth. The ancient practice of martial art have that technology. You look at the Tai Chi classic, this is after 1880s. All this kind of thing. If you pay attention with your breathing, you will be stagnated. It's called bullshit. Okay? That's what I said. Can you figure out it's just a simple inhale? Is this natural this way or this way? Are you kidding? You want to go fight when you need the cardiorespiratory endurance that you do this? It disregard of what your title or grandmaster. You just breathe with this. It's science. So number four is stop those nonsense. If you don't know, you say you don't know. Don't use the term natural. And then writing a classic. And everybody like to follow your classic, thinking that I quote the classic, I'm the best. That's why the other day I said, stop reading those Tai Chi classic. Read the four real Chinese martial art classic. Otherwise, you screw the thing up left and right. That's why is an accident that the Tai Chi Lei Lei get KO by Xu Xiaodong and other challenger of Xu Xiaodong in Tai Chi get KO. So all these are scientifics. So there are four key here. What is self-defense? Self-defense is not, according to the Chinese definition, is you never bully other people. You want to respect, you want to care for other people, and you don't take other people's bully. But once if the fight is inevitable, everything goes. That is the definitions of the Chinese. And the Chinese do not like to perform violence and restrain, self-restraint constructively solve problem is what it is intended. If you read Lao Tzu, Lao Tzu said, you don't want to use army, you don't want to fight. Even you win, you lost. Read Lao Tzu. And Sun Tzu said that you don't want to fight. You want to win, you have the full win. You don't destroy things. Right? Read it properly. The second thing is that you must have the momentum handling and the cardiovascular and muscular endurance. So just the beginning of the to learn the fighting. That's the really basic, the must have. The third thing is real fight always go changing in distance, angle, and direction. You move away your target. You don't stand there doing your this technique, that techniques, this fudging, that fudging nonsense. The fourth is whatever the sets, the form train is a functional training. It's not a meditations. Got nothing to do with natural. Natural is defined by natural, human nature. Nature is not defined by a philosophy term where one is clueless on what is the content and keeping using that term nature. So this is what I'd like to share with you for today, this four thing. And this is the four thing which Chinese Kung Fu today must look into, or else it is not even Chinese. Okay? It is not traditional Chinese. It's something else. So again, I don't want to sweet talk you. This is what it is. The reason why I share this is to hope that everybody have a better future. If this is not said straight, there's no future. Don't kid ourselves. Okay? And so the ancient classic is really important. Have a constructive and positive mentality is very important because fighting is destructive. And that's why the Chinese teaching avoid it at all costs. But the nature of fighting is really cold-blooded, which is inhuman because it's about destruction. And that's where people don't want to get close. However, one need to prepare so that one do not bully others and one do not get bullied by others. Thus, momentum handling, your endurance, you know what is a real bottom line of fighting. You know your form or set, which is a functional training, so that one have a solid base. Only with this, one is practice martial arts. However, not everybody can get into the free sparring because we are born with different health conditions. So this is about science of sparring. In this channel, we talk about culture and education. We don't want anybody to go fight, fight, fight. But we know what it is. That's the notion why I share this straight for you.